If that's not your style, this is not the country for you. I'm Jen, and this is Prague, the heart of Europe and my adopted home. Subscribe to get an American's take on this enchanting city and all things Czech. Welcome to the adventure. Ahoy všichni. If you're new to my channel, my name is Jen, and I am a native Californian living in Prague, Czechia for the past 9 years. The other day, I was in one of the Prague expat groups on Facebook, and there was this woman just going off on a rant about how, why is everybody telling people to move to Prague, and it's so hard to live here, and people need to be more realistic. And I was like, she's got a point. And I realized that on my channel, I tend to paint a rosy picture of life here. I can't help it, I'm American, we're optimistic. So in this video, I'm going to be a little more Czech about it and give you a harsher, more realistic picture of what it's like living here as a foreigner before you make the crazy decision to move to this beautiful country. The expat groups on Facebook is where you think you're going to find support and friendship and someone to go out to coffee with, and they will eat you for dinner. Of course, the internet has trolls, but for some reason, the expats in Prague just seem more jaded than most. The expat community here is so small that someone's going to be snarky to you on Facebook, and then you're going to run into them at a party or end up having to do business with them, and you're going to be like, you're a jerk. And it's like a hierarchy of being a jerk here. Like, the longer you've been living here, the more license you have to be sarcastic and unhelpful. And God help the newbies who join these groups and ask questions like, hey everybody, I'm considering moving to Prague and I want to know, 1, how can I find a job? 2, where should I live? And 3, do I really need to speak Czech? Don't be that girl. Many days being an immigrant in this country feels like Sisyphus rolling a ball up a hill, when the úřad is at the top of the hill and the ball is comprised of all of your rejected application papers. And so when you've been here for a while, we're like, you want us to make this easy for you? You will earn this. The lesson here is don't treat these expat groups like your personal Google. They're for quick and dirty questions like, hey, why is my tap water brown? Is this happening to anybody else in Vršovice? That's only happened a few times. Join the group and actively search for the answer because you're probably not the first person who's asked it. Next, you're not going to learn Czech by osmosis. Now, I'm not about to pass judgment on Americans who live here for years and years and years and never learn Czech. Okay, yes, I am. It's one of the hardest languages for English native speakers to learn. The Foreign Service Institute estimates that it takes over 1,100 hours of classroom time to be somewhat fluent in the language, which I have probably already done, and I still can barely understand what the woman in the post office is saying. And here's another thing. You're not just going to pick up Czech by hanging out in a pub. If you're coming here to teach English, you're going to meet a ton of Czech people and they're going to befriend you to speak English, not Czech. Some people come and think, I'll just meet a Czech boyfriend or a Czech girlfriend and they'll teach me Czech. But the truth is, my friends with Czech partners actually speak less Czech than I do because their Czech partners don't have the patience to listen to 1,100 hours of gibberish. So your life will be better if you speak Czech here, and it's a really freaking hard language to learn. Bon chance. The lesson here is to start learning Czech early. You can even start before you come. You can learn it on Duolingo. You can get lessons with the teacher on italki. When you come, don't put it off. Join a course, buy a textbook. When you're at a restaurant and you're nervous, you just want to revert to English, don't. Try to get through the conversation in Czech. I have a bunch of recommendations for language learning on my Instagram page. Don't assume you're gonna pick up Czech by hanging out in the hospoda and going on a few dates, because it ain't gonna happen. If you don't speak Czech, your job opportunities will be limited. Teaching English is the primary job that Americans do when they move here. People just assume that you can get a job in your field of what you studied in college or what you've worked at it for a few years, but that's going to be really hard. Now, I have seen people who move here and immediately start teaching English because it's an easy job to get. And then after a year or two, they can hear about other jobs that need native English speakers, like copywriting or maybe marketing or something like that. Or bring some digital nomad job with you. If you are leaving your work in the States and your employer offers you some like part-time, online work, take it. You'll never know when you're gonna need the extra income, and it's a great way to have some extra money and some confidence when you get here and you're looking for work. You're gonna earn less money. Money is all relative. I'd already been working professionally for 10 years when I moved here, so my idea of what I wanted to earn was going to be a lot different from someone who just graduated college and moved to Prague to teach English. First of all, you need to come with $5,000 to $8,000. I believe that the visa application requires you to prove that you have at least $5,000 in your bank account. That is the minimum you should have, because you are not going to be paid until you get your visa and your trade license, and that could take 3 months. You'll have to put a deposit on a flat. You might have to put a deposit on utilities. You're going to have to buy your transportation pass. So you're going to need to have a chunk of change. So I recommend saving up as much as you can before you decide to come. Then when you do get a job and you make the calculation exchange in your head to dollars, you're going to freak out a little. I was earning probably 1/6 of what I was able to earn in the United States when I moved here. But you just have to remember that you can get by and have a really nice quality of life on a lot less money here. So I earned a lot more in Los Angeles, but it took that much money and more to have a decent quality of life there. So my advice would be to look at salary websites to see what typical Czechs earn and to see what like a livable wage is, and then also figure out your expenses and see if that's doable for you. Jen here, interrupting this video to remind you of one thing you should definitely not forget when you move to or travel around Europe. And that's NordVPN, who's also the sponsor of today's video. So Hansa and I are on a little road trip through southern Spain at this very moment, and Hansa is over there booking our next accommodation on the hotel's public Wi-Fi. And so obviously he turned on NordVPN to keep his internet traffic private and secure. You can get better prices on flight tickets, car rentals, and hotels. Simply change NordVPN to a different location and take advantage of the low prices in that location. Right now, NordVPN is offering a great deal. Simply go to my link in the description box below to get a 2-year plan plus 4 additional months for free with a huge discount if you use the code DREAMPRAGUE at checkout. When you do, you help me support this channel so I can keep making you more videos. So thank you. My mother has been coming to Europe for years and spending, a couple weeks to a couple of months here, and she didn't even know that she, as an American, wasn't allowed to stay past 90 days. When you have an American passport, you have a lot of privileges that, usually, that people in other countries don't have, and so we get to come to almost all European countries for 90 days without applying for a visa. But after 90 days, you have to get a visa if you want to stay, and that is a long, complicated process. I mean, the process is listed in plain English on the ministry's website, but it's unclear how to actually do those steps for Americans. For example, you have to get proof of a criminal background check, but Americans can do this in a different way than getting it from your home country. Also, they tell you to apply from your home embassy, the Czech embassy in your home country, but as Americans, we can apply in Vienna, we can apply in Berlin, we can apply in Brussels. So what I recommend is having someone to help you through this process. And by someone, I mean a company that knows how. I used to work helping foreigners get visas, and so I have a very clear process about how someone can apply for their visa. But it's very difficult if you don't have a Czech-speaking person who's going to go to all these offices with you. And if you mess up in any way, then this whole experiment is over. Bureaucracy here is a nightmare. And I don't just mean because it's in Czech, which is the primary problem. They just have a lot more bureaucracy. I feel like I'm at the Úřad once a month, and that's just not normal in America. You get a lot of paperwork and a lot of mail that's solidly in Czech, and so you need to install Google Translate on your phone, and you can take a picture and translate it, but you really have to be on top of these things, and don't just put off translating a Czech notice that you got because it's probably something you need to attend to. You can't afford to be a passive victim of bureaucracy here. You really have to own it. So even though you've hired a visa company to help you go through the process, you need to know those dates. You need to know the rules. You need to know about when your taxes are due and what documents you need to submit. So you really need to get on top of that paperwork. If that's not your style, this is not the country for you. Now, I know I warned you off all the expat groups, but the truth is there are a lot of sort of hobbyist groups on Facebook, like Cooking in Prague and Hiking in Prague, and those are a really great place to meet people. Now, I was fortunate enough to come here and immediately join a school where I learned to teach English, and so that came with a ton of friends, and I continue to meet people through that community, so that's a great way to go. But I think it's probably very hard to move here without some sort of community and to just find people to be your dinner partner. The last thing is you are not at home. So I think a lot of people try to make this into home. So they spend a lot of time trying to figure out where I can buy Kraft macaroni and cheese and where I can find the best American style burger. And it's not home. And if you spend too much time trying to replicate your life back home, you're going to miss out on what makes it cool to be here. The people that try to replicate home are the people who leave after half a year or a year. So just try to embrace the differences, and I think you'll get a lot more out of the experience. If I haven't scared you off, good. You're the exact type of person who would be a successful immigrant in Prague, and I wish you the best of luck on your journey, whether you're moving here or just coming to visit. Uvidíme se příští týden. Ahoj.